Hello everyone, my name is John Benneth. I'm a student of homeopathy, and today I'm talking to Vaikunthanath das Kaviraj. Kaviraj. Yes, Dr. Kaviraj, if I may call him that.
Yeah.
Is the world's most popular leading authority for agro-homeopathy. Agro-homeopathy. It's about the use of homeopathic medicine on plants. He's the author of a seminal work, an amazing piece of literature called Homeopathy for Farm and Garden. Dr. Kaviraj, welcome to the program, and thank you for taking the time away from your patients to speak with us on this fascinating subject. We're speaking to Dr. Kaviraj you're in London, England, right?
Yes, London, England.
And this is Portland, Oregon that I'm calling you from, or speaking to you from. This for me is a groundbreaking. I've never done this before. I'm speaking to someone a world away, half a world away, and I think it's amazing. So I feel honored that I not only in your presence, but I get to do this for the first time. So let me first set the stage by explaining our terms here a little bit more. Homeopathy is the application of what is called similia, the use of highly diluted animal, mineral, and vegetable substances that in an unaffected individual will produce symptoms very similar to the same symptoms of someone suffering from a disease. And so what you have done, Dr. Kaviraj, is you have taken this concept of the law of similars and you've applied it to its use on plants. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, well, tell us how you began. Whatever prompted you to try homeopathy on plants?
Well, actually, I was in Switzerland in '86. And I was visiting some clients there, and the woman goes to me, well, you can treat animals, you can treat people, and that's what you do, but can you also treat plants? And I go, yeah, sure, but I have no idea how to do that because I know nothing about it.
Right.
And so she goes, well, du bist ein Kräuterhexe, you are a herbal wizard, yeah? You'll find something, let's go outside. So we went outside. And there she had, on the south side of the house, she had a nice set of trellis, with all these beautiful fruit trees, and they had rust. Rust is a fungal disease, which causes yellow, orange, or red spots on the leaves, the bark, and everywhere.
Okay.
And so these trees were all covered in that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I asked her, when did this start? And she goes, well, 3 days ago. And I go, oh, okay. And she said, yeah, 3 days ago it began with the one here on the left, and now we are 3 days further, and all my trees have been affected, and they're completely covered in it. And I go, oh, okay. And I saw the leaves hanging down, so I'm saying, are these plants thirsty? And she goes, yeah. Actually, I have to water them 3 times a day, and then for about an hour the leaves come back up, yeah? And then afterwards they drop again. So I'm thinking to myself, well, dark red spots, yeah, very thirsty, comes on like fast like lightning. This looks like scarlet fever in children. Let's give it some belladonna. And so all I had was a bottle of pills, so I put about 40 pills in a liter of water and whacked the bottle hard for about 30 times, and then poured that liter of water in the watering can, and then filled it up with water, so you get a nice mix under the tap when the tap is full open.
Yeah.
And then we watered the plants, and I was staying there for a couple of days. So the next morning we go outside, and half of it was already gone. Yeah.
Wow. And
the day after, it was completely gone.
That's
this
amazing.
Was my eureka moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't run down the street like Archimedes in my Adam's costume, yelling to the public, Eureka, Eureka, I found it. But that's what it felt like, yeah? And so then I thought, I have to know more about this. And so I went back to Amsterdam, where I was living at that time, and I started looking in the public parks and, the public greenery to see if I could find any problems and if I could find some solution to that. And of course, in the beginning, I made many mistakes. Like 2 weeks later, her husband in Switzerland phones up and he says, you got a problem with migraines. Yeah. So I'm saying, all right, if you got problems with your grains, I'll come over. So I hopped in the car and drove to Switzerland. And there he is, and his grains are all, hanging down and falling over. And I'm saying, so what did you do in the last couple of days? And he said, I gave it a dose of potassium, which is a plant nutrient and which they need for growth. And so I go, oh, okay, that sounds like kali carbonicum, which is a homeopathic remedy, potassium carbonate.
Now go over that again for me. Kali carb, you were using kali carb for what were the symptoms that you were treating with that? A loss of fluids?
Potassium excess, there was an excess of potassium, and then the plants, they begin also to show symptoms, like they're hanging over, they're not really vigorous, yeah? And so I'm thinking, okay, kali is kali carb, yeah? Because the carbonate is actually what every living entity is made of, so let's do that. And so we did it, and the next morning we went to have a look, and all the plants were dead. And then later I began to realize, hey, wait a minute, actually, if there is too much potassium, then the plant has a phosphor lack, because when you give too much potassium to a plant, it locks up the phosphor in the soil, and then the plant cannot take it up. And that's what it needs when it is growing and making seed. Yeah, and that's what was the process there. They were about to make their seeds. And so instead of kali carbonicum, I should have given kali phosphoricum. And then the problem would have been solved. So that was my first big mistake. Yeah, and he was a hobby farmer, so to him he said, well, it's not a problem. I'll grow some other stuff for the rest of the season. Yeah, but if it had been a commercial farmer, I would have been up for damages. Yeah, and if you do so many hectares, that's costing you a lot of money.
Yeah.
So then that was my first big lesson. Yeah. And then I began to study back the relationships between the elements for plants, and they are different as the elements for humans, because kali and phosphor are actually the friends of each other in the homeopathic materia medica for humans, but in plants these two substances are each other's enemy. If you have too much phosphor, the potassium gets locked up, and if you have too much potassium, phosphor gets locked up. And another thing with either of the two, if you give too much, you will attract aphids on the plant. You get an explosion of aphids. Yeah? And speaking about aphids, that took me about 3 years to solve that problem. I took the aphids and drowned them in alcohol and made a remedy, and it didn't work. And so I took more aphids and ground them up with milk sugar, like we also do, and that didn't work. And then I charcoaled the aphids and ground them up with milk sugar and made a remedy, and it didn't work. Yeah, and so I was thinking, well, there are so many different aphids. Yeah, you have black aphids, green aphids, white aphids, red ones. You have them in all kinds of colors. Yeah. You have them with one ovipositor through which they lay eggs. You have them with two. You have them that that don't lay eggs but give birth to live young. Yeah. So I was thinking, mix them all together, take separate species, and so I mucked around for 3 years. And then one morning I walk into my garden, and here is my rose bush, and the rose bush is full of aphids, and here is also the ladybug. And the ladybug eats aphids for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yeah? It is the natural predator. I'm thinking, there is my remedy. I'm going to use the ladybug in potency, and we have this in the materia medica already also for humans. And so, I got myself a bottle and prepared it in a similar manner and gave it to the rose bush, and the next day all the aphids were gone.
This is incredible.